Patriots week 2 against Seattle. And Zach, they are bringing back the 2014 team, 10-year anniversary of the Super Bowl champs. That was the one that beat Seattle with the Malcolm Butler goal line interception. So excited about that. Good to see them in the building in Foxborough on Sunday. Little 4:25 game or 4:05 game East Coast time because they're playing the Seahawks. And that's where the intrigue ends for me. I find nothing, like, I feel no compelling reason to preview this game, break down this game.
Okay. I can tell you that with our survivor pick, the other side of that,
do those today.
Yeah, well, I picked the Seahawks because to me right now, I just have no fun watching them as a team. And so I thought, oh, they'll be able to beat the Broncos this week. I'll just get one of those teams out of the way early of using them last week. That was my thought process last week.
I thought you were saying this week and be like, and you're going to be just like Pete. You're going to be a hater. You're going to be done.
No, I already picked him. I'm not picking him again this week. I think that the Pat Magic might continue.
The Pat Magic. We need a graphic of that. Pat Magic.
It should have been Pat's Magic because
no, Pat Magic.
Pat Magic makes it sound like, all right, fine.
The Patrick Magic.
But I get
magician.
There's no necessarily intrigue here, but I would think that at least as a Patriots fan, you would, like your chances. It's what, 3.5 spread?
I liked this one looking back last week much better than Cincinnati. I said when I said they weren't going to win until November 3rd, I said the only shot I think they really have is Seattle. So I guess there is something interesting in that they're both teams that, like, it's kind of funny that we're going to be honoring that Super Bowl team, and those were two great teams.
Is Pete Carroll getting honored too?
I don't think so. Former Patriots coach Pete Carroll. No, I don't think so.
Should have ran the ball. Anyway,
I think that is the best Super Bowl ever.
Ooh, I would disagree.
What
I think at least the most fond for me as like a NFL fan, and I was more as a teenager, but it was the Titans Rams at least the finish to the Titans Rams Super Bowl.
Yeah,
it was crushing as a guy who like rooted for the Titans at the time because the Texans weren't in existence yet. And I'd followed the Oilers there. Like just that 1 yard, it's the huge heartbreak, but it is an exciting way to finish it.
It was incredible.
McNair and him driving. Yeah.
I got to learn much more about it during the Steve McNair murder documentary for some fucking reason.
How much time they spent on the Super Bowl instead of, well, okay.
I'm telling you, Zach, it was a weird amount of time they spent on specifically that Super Bowl, but also Steve McNair's rise in the NFL. It's a 58-minute documentary, and I swear half of them was about that, and specifically that run to the Super Bowl. And I'm like, dude, we did not need that.
Yeah,
all you said, put some highlights. He went to the Super Bowl, he won an MVP. Now let's get on with the story.
Unless it's
a murder story.
It's them trying to tell all the non-sports fans, hey, this is how good Steve McNair was. I remember how good Steve McNair was.
Right, and we don't need, but I'm saying we don't even need that much buildup.
Yeah.
If you say he went to the Super Bowl and won the MVP, and you have Jeff Fisher, who's in there for a ton for some reason, just being like, this guy was the icon, the first icon of football, pro football in Tennessee, then we're okay. Then me as the non-sports fan, watcher, true crime fan is like, oh wow, this guy was a big deal. He was a celebrity in Nashville.
Yeah.
And then we move on. We didn't
Fair
need
enough.
like all his elusive plays on the final drive of the Super Bowl, as impressive as it was. But I go with the heavyweight matchup of it. The Patriots were loaded that year, specifically. Other than how normally loaded they were with the best coach ever and Brady and Gronk. Gronk was actually playing in that game. Edelman, of course, but you still had Vince Wilfork on the team. You had Chandler Jones. You had Terrell Revis on that team for the Patriots. That was a stacked Patriots team. And you look on the other side, and this was the best team they ever matched up with in a Super Bowl. The Seahawks were like that. That to me is probably the best Super Bowl matchup of my lifetime, or right up there. Like, obviously, this is right in the middle of the Legion of Boom. They just won the Super Bowl the year before.
Over the Broncos, right?
Yeah.
Was that one? Yeah.
Yeah. That was a sickeningly good defense. Russell Wilson was about the peak of his powers. It still was not a high-octane offense, but they always got the job done. That's why I was so, I didn't like the Seahawks. because they felt like a lucky team. They just felt like they kept winning these weird games. Green Bay in that NFC Championship game that year is like dominating the game, but they keep kicking field goals. And so here come the Seahawks with this incredible, game tying drive, or they go up and then Crosby kicks the game tire and then they win it in overtime. The Seahawks do. They had the one the next year where Blair Walsh missed like a 25-yard kick
just
at
shanks
the
it to the
buzzer.
left, a 10-9 win. Yeah.
Like they just kept I felt like the Jesse Pinkman meme. You can't keep getting away with this. You can't keep getting away with this. That was me watching the Seahawks all the time. So a short period of hate, but man, that was just two heavyweight teams back and forth. Some people will say Super Bowl 51 with the big comeback is the greatest ever, and that's pretty great. But this was like almost cinematic, mythical stuff. Two great teams at the peak of their powers, and it comes down to the goal line on the final play in what is, in my opinion, Zach, in what is the greatest championship play of all time. I mean, we are talking the end of a Super Bowl, the most important game in American sports. And never have we seen a game on that stage at that point in the game have one team go from certain victory to certain defeat in one play.
Yeah.
I think it's the best play in NFL history. I know I'm a Patriots homer, but and to be fair,
okay.
And to be fair, by the way, if we're going to judge Super Bowls on that, then Rams Titans is up there, is very close.
True.
Very close. It didn't seem as much of a foregone conclusion, but they were about to score.
Yeah.
So that, to your argument, would be up there. But this is 10-2. Just get the car in the driveway. You are halfway up the driveway, and the engine falls out of the vehicle. That's what this was. And it's the undrafted rookie free agent making the play. The guy who was working at Popeyes 2 years before. Unbelievable story. This just became a Super Bowl 49 segment.
Yeah. I didn't mean for us to do
that
that.
But I think it's worth it, though.
But I do remember Malcolm Butler now because of that.
Exactly. And even a lot of Patriots fans would say, well, Super Bowl 51 is the greatest comeback ever. And I think that's where we need to differentiate. It's the greatest comeback ever. But pound for pound, the game, Super Bowl 49.
There's so much. I like seeing your side of it, because somebody who's not necessarily I was watching as a just watching to watch because I didn't have a dog in the fight. The thing that I love most about that is you talk about that being the greatest play in NFL history, which I just haven't thought of everything. So I can't say, oh, I agree or disagree with you. But I do believe that play alone is what started the downfall for a lot of things, though. It was what started Seattle to kind of tank from there. Sure. I think that's where Russell Wilson started to turn into the Russell Wilson we are now. Just the whole story of the play. You have Marshawn Lynch. Just at least let him try. There's just so many things on the opposite side.
There was some weird stat that he only scored from the 1 yard line 1 out of his 5 opportunities that year. But I think you had a timeout.
You have to. But and also at the same time, it's heads up to the Pats D, because if I'm somebody, I'm thinking, oh, they're going to give it to their all-pro running back here, but able to be where they needed to be to read what
and they knew
Pete
what play
Carroll
was
called
coming.
To. Exactly.
They knew what play it was. And there's a great, if you've ever seen Do Your Job, it's following the Patriots coaches during that season. They knew all Seattle's goal line plays, and they had practiced that a few times during the week. And Malcolm Butler was the guy that was in practice. He's the 5th cornerback on the team. But they have him, and he couldn't jam the route in practice. There's little practice footage of it. It's kind of gives you goosebumps to watch because he can't jam the route. He tries to go under it, and these Patriots scout team wide receivers keep scoring touchdowns. And that brilliant NFL films. Brian Flores later became the head coach of the Dolphins. He's setting up the goal line package. 3 corners. Malcolm, go. and you can see it from the sideline. It's like I get goosebumps thinking about it right now because he finally gets it right. You can see it. Brandon Browner and Malcolm Butler are there, and Browner goes, "You got to jam him. When this setup, this is what's coming. You've got to jam him and beat him to the punch." And he did it. It was that play is the single greatest sports moment of my life, and therefore, as you know me by now, Zach, therefore one of the great moments of my life.
Fair enough.
I was a senior in high school. One of my friends did a Super Bowl party every year, and it was just us, like in his basement. There was probably 10 of us, and like it was done. Like it was over. Curse makes that crazy catch, and it's like this is happening again. I know you don't feel much sympathy for Patriots fans, and I get it. Trust me, I get it. But this was about to be the third straight Super Bowl that we played in that happened. Some crazy catch that you're like, fuck, man.
Oh, yeah, the Tyree one.
We're going to be seeing this on every highlight tape again, and we're going to lose again. Like, how does this keep happening? It was the same end of the field in the same stadium that the Tyree helmet catch was on. Like that, it was over. And it's the first time in my life that I had not had a drink and completely blacked out for a minute. Like I could not tell you what happened in the basement in that moment. I just remember the ball getting into Malcolm Butler's hands, and the next thing I remember was like had to be like a minute later. Like I don't remember any of it. It was absolute pandemonium.
See, listening to you talk about that, like I can see then obviously, I didn't know about the story of him not being able to jam it in practice beforehand.
Oh,
because that does add to
it.
It's
complete Patriots
but like hearing you talk about that reminds me of one of my favorite sports moments, which funny enough has to deal with your team too.
Oh, no.
And it's from the beginning.
No.
No. It's a good one. I think you'll like this. It's from the 4 Days in October documentary. And I love it when Kevin Millar is going around telling them they better not let us win tonight. Like, I can't remember it all. Just everybody's like, game 5, we got whatever. It's like Pedro game 6,
we
Shill
got Pedro game 5, we got Shill game 6.
And game 7 was game 7. That's what it is. But I just love him.
We can have you out there batting 9.
I love him just going to all the reporters, just telling them that. And so like,
just put us to bed.
Yeah.
Don't let us win this game.
And yeah. So Butler not being able to do it all practice long, but then when it comes down to it happening, of him being able to play it perfectly the way he did is just that's awesome.
It's like the ultimate orchestra of Patriots porn. Because it's all the things that made the Patriots great. And it's all the shit that is like cliches, but the Patriots used to win championships in terms of, ignoring any of the outside noise. Just doing your job. You hear every coach saying now, do your 111th. And it's such a cliche, but it's like that was it. And Malcolm's job was to jam that play and, winning games on the practice field rather than on game day. Like they knew that play was coming when they lined up in that formation. And yeah, to me, it's the greatest Super Bowl ever. It is. And I'm glad that, that team gets honored as if they haven't enough, but that's cool to bring them back out 10 years ago, man. That just reminds me that I was a senior in high school 10 years ago, which makes me kind of feel like shit. So I don't find much more intrigue to this game other than the fact that like the Seahawks are also in a rebuild in a different way. The Patriots are in a better position because they have the top 5 quarterback already, like ready. Well, not ready to go, but you know what I mean? Like waiting in the wings. And so like the Seahawks and the Steelers have been on the same plane the last like 3 or 4 years. Those are the teams I think of just limbo mediocrity that are trying to rebuild without sucking. And I don't know that you can do that in the NFL these days. There's something to be said about the franchises or the coaches or the GMs that just keep winning. So there's something to say for Mike Tomlin in that sense with the Steelers. But at some point, I think you do kind of have to come close to bottoming out if you want to get that quarterback.
We are Rogue Media Sports.